Are you feeling so liberated from your 401k? Perfect. You're in the right place. Welcome to States Against Humanity, the March Madness tournament where we, a group of strangers on the internet, come together to use dark humor to cope with these dark times by choosing the worst state for humanity. I'm Casey, and I'm your reluctant host, and today we're going to talk about Texas and Louisiana and education. But first, shout out to my girl Sarah, who Venmo'd me money for coffee so that I could complete this video for you today. Thank you, Sarah. It was, in fact, a very large coffee. If there's a theme to this matchup, it is that school vouchers do not help public education at large. It does help private education. Oh my God. If you're wondering how things went researching this video, that about sums it up. Time and time again, we've seen that vouchers do not pay off for public education systems. We saw that in Louisiana with their voucher program. And we're seeing it with all of the 11 states that have already introduced some sort of universal school choice program. And Republican politicians like Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry will continue to push the voucher programs. They're just going to repackage them as things called education savings accounts. It sounds so fiscally responsible and adult-like, but in fact, it's just some fancy words put together, like everything the Republicans do in terms of the economy. We're so good with the economy because we put words together that confuse people. How's that working out for you now? And any of your stocks or retirement accounts? Yeah? Okay. There's a lot happening in Texas education, but I'm going to talk about Senate Bill 2 that's going on to the House. This is going to be your voucher program, right? So the bill would cap spending at $1 billion for the first 2 years and then let the legislature decide what to do from there. And so that's for 100,000 students to attend private schools of the 5 some odd million public school students currently. And the way they would determine which students are picked is that they would put them into a lottery system. And so 80% of the students would have to be what they consider to be lower income students, which sounds great until you realize that the Senate bill says it's 500% of the federal standard for poverty guidelines. And for a family of 4, that works out to be about $155,000. Listen, I don't care how hard the Republicans want to sell the fact that they're trying to put kids that are disadvantaged financially into this kind of program. When you open it up to people that make $155,000, that's going to be a lot of people. What I'm saying is this is not an exclusive lottery system, okay? The other 20% of students can be anybody, and they can apply as well. And then they can take their money and they can go to a private school, and it'll be about $10,000 a student. $11,500 if you are a student with disabilities. Part of the problem is that, once again, Republican officials in Texas have been lying about how much they've been spending on their schools and their students. They've been making claims that the spending is at an all-time high, and in fact, it is not. When you account for inflation and the federal dollars that they no longer get because of the pandemic, they're actually spending less per student. Their spending has been the same since 2019. So again, it's weird that we have another Republican governor, Greg Abbott, cheering on Trump as he disassembles dismantles the Department of Education, where states like Texas and Louisiana both get federal dollars to subsidize their education budget. Although schools get most of their funding from local sources and state sources, they do also get a significant amount from the federal government, because 17%, I would say, is not an insignificant amount. So how is the state of Texas going to subsidize this loss of 17% when they are now instituting a voucher program that's going to help pay for private schools, not public schools? Other things to BOLO in the state of Texas is HB 100, which would create a statewide ban on educational materials. As it is, they have one, but then school districts can kind of do what they want, and then you have the Moms for Liberties that show up at the school board meetings and make a big fuss and try to take books out of the curriculum. Yeah, well, this would just do it automatically. Then you got the Texas Parental Rights in Education bill, which on the front end sounds kind of okay, because parents should have access to students' test scores and things like that. Sure, I'll buy that. But read closely, because there's portions of the bill that looks like it might give parents the right to opt kids out of health exams. And I don't know, but it feels like the MAHA movement is all over it. You know what I'm saying? Oh, also, Texas approved a curriculum, Blue Bonnet curriculum, which apparently instructs the Bible to kids K through 5. And not in a way of, oh, this is one story that people believe in, let me tell you all about Buddhism. No, in this is the historical fact and the way it happened, and this is what you should adopt type of indoctrination. Groups are challenging this, thankfully. Also, the Texas Senate passed a 10 Commandments bill, which is exactly what you think it is. The 10 Commandments would be posted and then they could read Bibles in schools. Like it's 1856 again. The Texas Senate did approve a bill that would raise teacher salaries significantly. So there's that positive thing. Louisiana is such an odd bird with this because on the one hand, they in fact had the first voucher program that didn't do well. They're going to try again with education savings account. And Jeff Landry had this whole plan. And Louisiana voters were like, psych, not going to happen on our watch. So Jeff Landry had tried to bribe everybody into voting for this amendment too. It basically would have taken tax revenue from state savings accounts and put them into the general fund so that he could do more with stuff. I mean, it was just shady, and the voters were like, no, thank you. But part of that, he tried to sweeten the pot by bribing teachers by giving them these like $2,000 stipends. People thought initially it was going to be like a pay raise every year, but in fact, no, it was just like a one-time stipend. Thankfully, people saw through that. However, now the teachers are like, where's my money? And he didn't put it in the budget because he really thought his initiatives were going to pass. And it is a problem because they do face pretty significant budget cuts in Louisiana, in a state where their Republican governor also praised Trump for dismantling the Department of Education, which will take away their federal subsidies. The same governor banned critical race theory in schools last year. If you're wondering about Texas, they did it way back in 2021. Louisiana tried to pass its own 10 Commandments law, only their law got blocked by a federal judge because Louisiana required that the classrooms display the 10 Commandments. Not that they just could put it up. Texas was like, amateur hour. We know how to get by. We know how to get by that pesky First Amendment. But anyway, it still goes into effect. It just, I guess only 5 parishes are impacted. So I guess 10 Commandments are going up in some classrooms. But I have to share some positives from Louisiana, and that is that their schools are performing much better post-pandemic. Basically, the pandemic hit and Louisiana is like, now is our time to shine. Let's go, everyone. Louisiana has improved for 3 straight years. It's ranked higher than it ever has before on the nation's report card. I think it moved up like 11 places into the 30s now. Students are performing better on tests. That's the standardized tests. That's all I can say. I don't know what you want to do with that, but you have that information now. If you're wondering how Texas is performing, not well. The new study just ranked them in the bottom 10 of best and worst states for education. I'm sure it depends on who you ask, but being in the bottom 10 of 50 states can never be a good sign, can it? Yes, of course there's more, but I can't add more to this video because TikTok barely shows it to people as it is. So I'm going to leave it here, and you're going to pick between these 2 terrible states. They're both terrible. So you know what? Either one, it's your call. You decide. And I will see you for the next matchup, which is Alabama versus Missouri. And remember that you get to pick their topic. So please go to that video and leave it in the comments for what you want to see. Thank you. Bye.